4:50, like 5 o'clock. So maybe that's why the time Prabhuji came late. So no. So we are sorry, Prabhuji. Please take over the call now. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमः ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वतीदेवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Okay, all right. So thank you all the devotees for giving me opportunity to serve you all, and apologies for the delay. So let's start as soon as possible. I will be sharing the verse on the screen. It's 6th canto, 3rd chapter, 24th verse. Okay, all right. So I hope that everyone is able to see on the screen. All right. So we'll start reading. एतावतालमघनिर्हराणाय पुंसां सङ्केतनं भगवतो गुणकर्मनाम्नां विरुक्ष्यपुत्रमघवन् यदजामिलोऽपि नारायणेति म्रियमान इयाय मुक्तिम्. Synonyms: etavata, with this much; alam, sufficient; aga, nirhara, naya, for taking away the reactions of sinful activities; pumsam, of human beings; sankirtanam, the congregational chanting; bhagavata, of the supreme personality of Godhead; guna, of transcendental qualities; karma, nam, and of his names according to his activities and pastimes; viruksha, crying without offense; putram, son; agavan, the sinful; yat, since; ajamil, api, even; ajamil, Narayan, the Lord's name; Narayan, iti, thus; niyamana, dying; iyaya, achieve; muktim, liberation. Translation: therefore it should be understood that one is easily relieved from all sinful reactions by chanting the holy name of the Lord and chanting of his qualities and activities. This is the only process recommended for relief from sinful reactions. Even if one chants the holy name of the Lord with improper pronunciation, he will achieve relief from material bondage if he chants without offenses. Ajamil, for example, was extremely sinful, but while dying, he merely chanted the holy name. And although calling his son, he achieved complete liberation because he remembered the name of Narayana. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In the assembly of Raghunath Das Goswami's father, Haridas Thakur confirmed that simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one is liberated, even if he does not chant inoffensively. Smarta Brahmanas and Mayavadis do not believe that one can achieve liberation in this way. But the truth of Haridas Thakur's statement is supported by many quotations from Srimad Bhagvatam. In his commentary on this verse, for example, Sridhar Swami gives the following quotation: Sayam pratar grinan bhaktya dukkha grama vimuchyate. If one always chants the holy name of the Lord with great devotion in the evening and in the morning, one can become free from all material miseries. Another quotation confirms that one can achieve liberation if one hears the holy name of the Lord constantly every day with great respect. Anudinam idam adarena shrinvan. Another quotation says, Shravanam kirtanam dhyanam harer adbhuta karmana janma karma gunanam cha tad arthe akhila chestitam. One should always chant and hear about the extraordinarily wonderful activities of the Lord. One should meditate upon these activities and one should endeavor to please the Lord. Bhagavatam 11.3.27. Sridhar Swami also quotes from the Puranas, Papashayascha bhavati smaratam tam ahar nisham. One can become free from all sinful reactions simply by remembering the lotus feet of the Lord day and night. Ahar nisham. Furthermore, he quotes from Bhagavatam, Tasmat Sankirtanam Vishnu Jagan Mangalam Amhasam Mahatam Apik Kauravya Vidhi Aikantika Niskritam. All these quotations prove that one who constantly engages in chanting and hearing of the holy activities, name, fame, and form of the Lord is liberated. As stated wonderfully in this verse, Eta Vatalam Aga Haranaya Pumsham. Simply by uttering the name of the Lord, one is freed from all sinful reactions. The word alam, which is used in this verse, indicates that simply uttering the holy name of the Lord is sufficient. This word is used with different imports. As stated in the Amarkosh, the most authorized dictionary in the Sanskrit language, alam bhushana paryapti shakti varana vachakam. The word alam is used to mean ornament, sufficiency, power, and restraint. Here, the word alam is used to indicate that there is no need of any other process. For the chanting of the holy name of God is sufficient. Even if one chants imperfectly, one becomes free from all sinful reactions by chanting. This power of chanting the holy name was proved by the liberation of Ajamil. When Ajamil chanted the holy name of Narayan, he did not precisely remember the Supreme Lord. Instead, he remembered his own son. At the time of death, Ajamil certainly was not very clean. Indeed, he was famous as a great sinner. Furthermore, one's physiological condition is completely disturbed at the time of death. And in such an awkward condition, it would certainly have been very difficult for Ajamil to have chanted clearly. Nevertheless, Ajamil achieved liberation simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord. Therefore, what is to be said of those who are not sinful like Ajamil? It is to be concluded that with a strong vow, one should chant the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. For thus one will certainly be delivered from the clutches of Maya by the grace of Krishna. Chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is recommended even for those who commit offenses, because if they continue chanting, they will gradually chant offenselessly. By chanting the Hare Krishna mantra without offenses, one increases his love for Krishna. As stated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prema Pumartha Mahan. One's main concern should be to increase one's attachment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and to increase one's love for Him. In this regard, Srila Vishwanath Thakur quotes the following verse from the Srimad Bhagvatam 11.19.24. एवं धर्मर्मनुष्याणाम् उदवात्मनि वेदिनां मायि संजयते भक्ति ओ अन्योर्थो शाश्वत अस्वा अस्यावशिष्यते. My dear Uddhav, the supreme religious system for human society is that by which one can awaken his dormant love for me. Commenting on this verse, Srila Vishwanath Thakur describes the word bhakti by saying, Premai Vokta ka anya artha asya. In the presence of bhakti, what is the necessity of liberation? Srila Vishwanath Thakur also quotes this verse from the Padma Puran. Nam aparada yuktanam namani eva hranti agam avishranti prayuktani tani eva karani cha. Even if in the beginning one chants the Hare Krishna mantra with offenses, one will become free from such offenses by chanting again and again. Papa Shayascha Bhavati Smaratam Tam Ahar Nisham. One becomes free from all sinful reactions if one chants day and night, following the recommendation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who quoted the following verse. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Eva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva, 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 Gatiranyata. In this age of scorn and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. If the members of Krishna conscious movement strictly follow this recommendation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, their position will always be secure. Hare Krishna. All right. So here we have seen the glories of the holy name, and it may seem exaggerated, or it may seem like that the glories of the holy name are um, maybe it is depicted in a very extreme way, because practically we see that although we are chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but then still we are struggling with chanting the holy name too. We are struggling on focusing on the sound of the holy name, and it's mentioned that all the sinful reactions are destroyed. Everything is destroyed. It seems that it bestows us with like the position of being liberated from this world. but still devotees suffer. They also experience distress. And Srila Prabhupada said that chant Hare Krishna and be happy. This is very ideal, but still we are not experiencing that. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is also mentioned that when we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then immediately tears should come from the eyes and hair should stand on hand. We should feel ecstasy and all, but it's not happening. So we'll also be reading that particular. I think it was, yeah. So yeah, that particular verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we will read the translation purport to that later on. And Srila Prabhupada also explains what is the reason for that. He also quotes Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So it is observed that there are not just about chanting, but even regularly any process of bhakti or any limb of bhakti is exaggerated. It seems that it is exaggerated, or the glories are not sufficient enough. Like, it's not really practically working, or maybe it is not applicable in this age. Although definitely it is not true. We may experience like that, but Srila Vishwanath Thakur has explained in a very nice way, and we have already covered this in much detail in one of the previous classes. If you remember, I think it was about Harinam Tattva, or it was about the uh, pastime of Ajamil, and I had shared the entire commentary of Srila Vishwanath Thakur to that particular Leela, specifically one particular verse where he's elaborating and he's explaining what exactly is happening. Like why Ajamil, he got liberated. Although he was sinning, he was actually committing sins after he chanted the name of Narayan, but still he was actually free from all sinful reaction. So why it was like that? And why it seems that the holy name does not give the results to us. So everything was explained by Srila Vishwanath Thakur. It was elaborated in much detail. So we'll not go through that now, but I would like to focus mainly on the practical application of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. How does it work? When does it work? And what it means to chant purely? Because this is what is actually explained by our acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, senior devotees from ISKCON, and of course the Parampara acharyas. So let's go through that one by one. So first and foremost is that the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, there is one problem with that. Although it's a Mahamantra, it is called Mahamantra because it does not wait for anything. It is not dependent on anything. It is totally independent. It is, although it is a mantra from the Shruti, and some people say that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reversed the mantra because we cannot directly chant the mantra which is there in the Shruti. But this is not the case. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not alter the mantra. It is as it is. The actual sequence of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is like that only. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama. So it is the actual sequence. And the reason the acharyas say that the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, although it is part of the Shruti, it's a Shruti mantra, it's a Vedic mantra, but it is independent to anything. So it does not wait for anything. It is although it requires qualification to chant something which is there in the Shrutis, but the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, although being a part of the Shruti, it does not have any kind of rules and regulations, obligations. It's independent of that. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally ordered us to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So even without the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we can chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But then there is a process which is involved that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has also given us in order to take shelter of the holy name, in order to chant the holy name purely. And that process will actually go through it now. What exactly is the process so that we can chant purely? So one thing is very clear that the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is definitely the king of all mantras, because what is the difference between mantra and the Mahamantra? So mantra, as you know, that mantra, it's a composition of two words, man and tra, which means that it delivers the mind. So that way it means mantra. Now any mantra which has got basically, like for example, the Gayatri has got it's got the beach, it's got the naam, and it's got the I forgot the Sanskrit word for that, but it consists of three parts. So any mantra has got three parts to it. It's got the bija, which means like the klim, like for example, in the Gopal mantra, we have the klim Krishna Govindaya Gopijan Vallabhaya Swaha, like that. So Klim is basically the beach for Krishna's mantra. And then it has got Nama. Nama means it has the name of the particular deity you are invoking. And then it has a purpose. So I don't remember the word for that, but the entire mantra has a purpose. Like you are invoking a particular deity or the particular demigod with a purpose. So what is the purpose? So the mantra has got three aspects. But you'll see the holy name. It's completely made up of the name of the Lord. Like you'll not have the Klim, you'll not have the Swaha, you'll not have Namaha. You know, like that. So it's totally the names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, like that. So that is called the Maha Mantra. It only has the names of the Lord in that sequence, in the entire mantra. Okay. Now, so that's why it is the king of mantra. It is called the Maha Mantra because it does not require any qualification. It does not need any, it's not obligated to anything. But there is one issue with that. That holy name does not give the results if we commit offenses to the name, right? So, Nam Aparad. As we know that there are three stages of chanting the holy name, which is Nam Aparad, and then there is Namabas, and there is Shuddhanam. So, Nam Aparad is chanting with offenses. Namabas is chanting with the offenses almost being destroyed. Although we are not chanting with prema, with love of God. So anyone can chant the name without committing any offenses, and they can attain the benefit of Namavas. So there are different types of Namavas that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains in the Harinam Chintamani, which also will not go into the details. There are mainly four types of Namavas, and anyone who is chanting the name in while indirectly calling the Lord or like trying to make fun of the Lord, or even if they separate out the syllables, and if these syllables they indicate the name of the Lord. For example, the Muslims they say haram haram, right? So it of course they do not indicate Lord Ram. They say haram, which means something which is bad, something which is sinful probably. So, but because it has got the two words, Ha and Ram, and when it is combined together, it is basically addressing Lord Ram indirectly. So they also get the benefit of chanting the name of Lord Ram indirectly. And of course, that is the glory of the holy name. So that is considered in the stage of Namavas. If there are no offenses with the name that you chant. Now, what does it mean that you don't commit any offenses while you chant the holy name? It does not mean that when you are chanting the holy name, that time you don't commit offenses. It does not mean like that. It means that throughout your life, if you are committing offenses, let's say, for example, when you are not chanting the holy name, but if you commit some offenses, and when you then chant the holy name after some time, then still it is going to be Nam Aparad, because it does not mean that only when you are sitting with the holy name, with the japa beads, and you chant the holy name, or in the Sankirtan, that time when you are chanting, only that time the aparad is applicable. It's not like that, of course. I think everyone can understand that. So one thing is very clear: the holy name can bestow its effect, complete effect, only when it is completely rid of all the offenses to the Nam. And this means that throughout your life, you have to maintain that state, which is, of course, very difficult. It is not so easy. So let's say, for example, if someone is a child, let's say 2-year child, okay. Now a 2-year child will not know anything, and you can hardly expect the child to commit any offenses to the holy name. So if the child will chant the Nam, and if the child dies at that particular moment, then the child will get liberation. So all the reactions to its sinful activities, they all will be destroyed, unless if the child has committed some previous aparad, which means in the previous lives. So if there is some previous aparad, then that will continue, and that will affect the chanting of the holy name. So it will still be nam aparad, although in this life the child is not aware. But like, and the typical example is that of Bharat Maharaj. So Bharat Maharaj, it is said by Jeev Goswami that in the previous life he committed a aparad, and that consequence of that aparad he had to face in this life. And that's why even after coming to the stage of vow, he had to fall down from that platform. Okay. So these are the consequences of nam aparad. And aparads are, I will also take one particular session where I will share what are the stages and symptoms of the stages of bhakti. So from right from Shraddha to Prema, and you will see that, and what are the influence and the effects of anarthas. So there are different types of anarthas that arise from sin, that arise from piety, that arise from aparad, and that arise from faulty bhakti. And till what stages the influences are there, and you'll be I think you are already aware that the effects of aparad, they are right, they exist right till the stage of prema, what to speak of bhava. So there are some unintentional approaches that can also have its effect at the stage of prema, what to speak of the stage of bhava. So we'll go through that later on. Maybe in the next month, I will try to cover that. So the anarthas, they have got influences for a long time when we commit aparat to the holy name, and that's why chanting is a process. It is not something that you do in your 2 hours of day. It's the lifetime process. Okay. So now, what are the 10 offenses to the holy name? Of course, everyone knows from the Padma Puran. We read it every morning in our after the Mangala Aarti. We read that. So again, we'll not go through that. But one of the foremost aparad is Vaishnava aparad. And amongst Vaishnavas, of course, the Guru has actually the highest position in the life of a devotee. So when you commit offenses to the Guru, it means that you will not have any taste in the holy name. The holy name is not going to give you any effect. So let's start with the principle of foundation of the holy name. The entire uh, like we discuss about the different stages, and we talk about bhava and prema stage, and we talk about chanting the holy name purely. But this can be only achieved when we properly take guidance from our guru. We serve them. We serve them, we inquire from them submissively, we render service to them, and we follow their instructions. So basically, you'll see in the Nectar of Instruction Devotion, Rupa Goswami is talking about the 64 limbs of bhakti. And the first 10, you'll see that the first 3 itself, it is basically taking shelter of Guru, to take diksha from him, like, and to get knowledge from him, and to serve the Guru, basically. So that is the foundational principle of the entire bhakti process. If that foundation is weak, then no matter how many rounds you chant, whichever limb of bhakti you perform, it's not going to work. It's going to show effect after multiple lifetimes when you stop committing the offenses. Okay. So this is the foundation of chanting the holy name or any limb of bhakti, that we have to always remember. Srila Prabhupada also stated in his purports, and many times he also said that uh, chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra means taking shelter of the Panch Tattva. And we'll also go through one of the purports from the CC, where Srila Prabhupada talks about that. So he says that we cannot approach Radha Krishna directly, and of course we approach Radha Krishna through the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. Okay. Narottam Das Thakur also says the same thing. So if we want the real, I mean, the real effect of the holy name, the ultimate effect, of course, along with the aparads that we have to avoid, we have to also take shelter of the Gaur Bhaktas. So the Gaur Bhaktas, they are very powerful and they are very merciful also, and they can award us Krishna Prem very easily. So we must take shelter of the Panch Tattva and the associates of the Lord. Okay, now there is one particular purport from the Srimad Bhagvatam, and this is very important because you'll also get the connection between chanting the Holy Name. So see, Rupa Goswami has given 5 most important limbs of bhakti. Out of the 64 limbs, of course, there are many limbs, but you can say that, oh, like, every limb is an expansion of that 5 limbs. The other 64 limbs, they are also expansion of the 5 limbs, and of course there are many other limbs which are also ultimately expansion of the 64 limbs of bhakti. So Rupa Goswami has given 5 limbs, and which are these 5 limbs of the most potent limbs of bhakti? Of course, we know one is kirtan, another is hearing, basically Shravanam, that is the Srimad Bhagavatam. Third is Dhamvas. I mean, of course, the sadhu sang is there, which is the fourth one. I mean, which is the most important after Kirtan, you can say the sadhu sang is the most important. Then third comes the Srimad Bhagavatam. Fourth is the Dhamvas, and fifth is the worship of Tulsi or the worship of the deities. So Srila Prabhupada has very intelligently given us the process in Kali Yuga, which is Yug Dharma, the Harinam Sankirtan. But see, why Prabhupada gave the Panchratrik Vidhi along with the Bhagavad Vidhi? So this is called the Bhagavad Vidhi, chanting of the holy name, along with Sadhu Sang, along with Shavanam, along with Smaranam. So this is a part of the Bhagavad Vidhi, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is prescribed in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Whereas Panchratrik Vidhi, it is consisting of deity worship. So when we talk about Vidhi, generally it's a sets of rules and regulations. And Panchratriki, basically, this was spoken by Narad, I think, or Brahmaji to Narad. I don't remember that. But in 5 days, 5 nights, it was spoken to Brahma from Brahmaji to Narada, because I think the essence, the Vedas were lost. It was, I think, Madhu and Keta was told, and then Brahmaji came and I think he spoke the uh, the essence of the Vedas in 5 nights, and that's why it is called Panchratriki in 5 nights. Is so I'm not sure it was from Brahma to Narad, or I don't remember that. But anyways, so mainly consisting of deity worship process, and deity worship, although it's the Yug Dharma of Dwapar Yug, but it is supposed to be incorporated in Kali Yuga also, because only by deity worship one can come to the Brahmanical platform in Kali Yuga, because Kali Yuga we are Kalau Sudra Sambhava. Everyone is more or less a Sudra in Kali Yuga. And you can say Malecha Yavana also, because we are definitely very fallen in Kali Yuga. Our consciousness, mind, everything is totally into material world. So, in order to bring the mind under control, in order to bring to a steady platform of bhakti, to regulate the mind, in order to destroy the contamination, material contamination we have, deity worship is very important. Unless you have some rules and regulations, you cannot really come to a Brahminical platform in Kali Yuga, unless you are very advanced in Bhagavad Marg, which is basically spontaneous devotional service to the Lord. And I think that comes from previous lifetime. It's not so easy that if you have some kind of impurity uh, in your previous life or in this life in the past, you cannot come directly to the spontaneous platform. It requires a lot of training to get rid of the material contamination. So that's why Srila Prabhupada has incorporated the process of deity worship. So it goes simultaneously. And that's why you have the other limbs of bhakti that assisting, which is assisting your chanting of the holy name. So one thing is very clear. Although the scriptures, Shastra talks about the glorification of the holy name, how do we understand in the right context how it is glorified? So it is glorified assuming that you take the shelter of the holy name purely, or at least you do not commit any offenses to the holy name. Then the holy name can give you the desired result or the ultimate result. So if you are at Namabas, the holy name will give you liberation. You will be freed from all sinful reactions. And if you chant the name purely, then you attain the Lord, lotus feet of the Lord, which means that you go back to Godhead. Okay. So now what does Prabhupada say? Yeah, Prabhupada says in the Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 8th chapter, 9th verse, and I will just share the excerpt of that particular paragraph. In other words, unless one hears from the proper authority, one cannot become a preacher. In devotional service, therefore, 2 items out of the 9, namely hearing and chanting, are most important. Without hearing nicely, one cannot preach the message of Vedic knowledge. And then further in the 2nd canto, 2nd chapter, 36th verse, Srila Prabhupada states, the Bhakti Yoga process is practiced by devotees in different methods like hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Bandhanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, like that. Um, and offering all that one may possess. All 9 methods are bona fide methods, and either all of them, some of them, or even one of them can bring about the desired result for the sincere devotee. But out of all the 9 different methods, the first one, namely hearing, is the most important function in the process of Bhakti Yoga. Without hearing sufficiently and properly, no one can make any progress by any of the methods of practice. And for hearing only, all the Vedic literatures are there, compiled by authorized persons like Vyasdev, who is the powerful incarnation of God. So, second canto, second chapter, verse number 36. So, um, and with in the same light, Srila Jiv Goswami in his Bhakti Sandarbh text 262, he says that hearing has been explained before chanting and other processes because without hearing one will not know the other processes. So see, this is very important. See, that's why we have the 9 limbs of bhakti, the Navvida bhakti, starting with Shravanam. It is not with chanting. Although chanting is the king of all the processes. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he is asked by Ramananda Rai that amongst all the limbs of bhakti, which is the topmost, which is the king, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the king of all process. So now the question here is that why does Prabhupada say that out of all these processes, the hearing is the most important? The reason is because one only after hearing you can actually understand the glories of the holy name. You can actually understand how to take shelter of the holy name, in what mood, in by like and how do we practice bhakti yoga so steadily for the entire life. It's not a matter of just few minutes or few hours. It's a matter of practicing bhakti, uh, coming from the stage of shraddha and going right to the stage of prema. So see, it's very interesting that the acharyas don't say that you attain Krishna when you chant the holy name purely, because what does purely chanting of the name of the holy name purely mean? It basically means you come to the state of prema. That's why they say that one cannot go back to Godhead unless one reaches the stage of prema, the love of God. So there are symptoms of love of God. There is symptoms at the stage of bhava also. Okay, and at the state of bhava, one can see the Lord. One can perceive the Lord because one's body and senses, one's senses will become spiritualized. Okay, and because only with the spiritual senses you can see the form of the Lord, because the Lord is all spiritual. He does not have any tinge of material contamination. So if you want to see the Lord, you can only do that with your spiritual senses. You cannot do it with your gross material senses. And that's why it is said that in the state of bhav, the Ladini and Samvit Shakti of the Lord will enter the heart of the devotee. And that will enable a devotee to actually really see the Lord face to face. So this is the state of bhav. Now, of course, we are not going to delve into the lower stages. Maybe in the next class, I will explain all, elaborate on those stages. But coming to the point is that unless you hear from the Guru, you cannot actually understand the glories of the holy name. You cannot really perceive the glories of the holy name. You cannot actually appreciate the holy name. You cannot understand the glories of the holy name. And of course, now the question is that if just by chanting the holy name, as it is prescribed in the Shastra, we go back to Godhead, then what is the need of Guru? Because we also stated that holy name is not dependent on anything. So it does not depend on Guru, it does not depend on Sadhu Sang. Holy name can reward and award anything at any time by its will. So what is the need of Guru? And the problem is Namaprad. Now, in order to counteract Namaprad, we must have Sambandh Gyan. So what does it mean when we want to chant purely? It means when we have proper Sambandh Gyan, then we can chant the name purely. So that's why it's a process. Krishna consciousness is a process. The chanting of holy name is a process. You cannot avoid or neglect certain things. So Srila Prabhupada says that that's why without hearing sufficiently, you cannot even perform any other limb of bhakti properly, because you'll not be able to understand in what context, how should I behave, how should I act, how should I, how much importance should I give to a particular limb, what importance I should give to the devotees, how much importance to the Lord. So all these things, these are all understood by the scriptures, by the help of scriptures. And the Guru is the one who is actually going to decode the meaning of the scriptures for us. So it's not so easy to understand dharma, and it is not so easy to apply the principles of bhakti or dharma at a particular point of time, because the reality is going to change, the circumstances are going to change. So how do we apply bhakti in our present circumstance, and how do we get the full effect of bhakti? That is actually given by the acharyas and our guru. So the guru will engage us. The main responsibility of guru is to train us in Krishna consciousness, to provide knowledge, destroy the clouds of ignorance, destroy doubts. And that's why Prabhupada said that the guru must be familiar with the science of Krishna consciousness. Anyone who knows the science of Krishna can become guru, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. Right? At the same time, there is also standard for being a guru. It is not that anyone who has knowledge can become a guru. No. Of course, knowledge is there, but then more than that, there is has to be realization, and realization can only come when you follow the path, when you follow the process as strictly, as sincerely, and with as much surrender as possible. So those devotees who are doing that, they can become gurus. And of course, then we have Madhyama gurus, we have Uttama gurus. Depending on the level of their advancement, we can take guidance from them. But yes, this is very important to hear, to understand. Now, whatever you have been, see, the thing is, when you chant the holy name is not going to reveal to you the Dham Tattva. The holy name is not going to reveal you about Krishna Tattva, the Leela of Krishna's Tattva. The Tattva of Krishna's Leelas. At the same time, the Tattva of Krishna's form, the Tattva of Krishna's pastimes, his qualities, etc. This is all given by our acharyas in the scriptures. That's how actually you get to know about Krishna. I mean, who knew before coming to ISKCON, who even knew that Krishna only appears once in a day of Brahma? And then who knew about the Tattva of Srimati Radharani? Who is Radharani, who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and who knew about the meaning of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra? I mean, we always thought that is the name of Hari. Hari basically means Vishnu, Krishna, and Rama. And, so different people, they were perceiving the holy name differently. So who knew that? But after coming to Krishna consciousness and after attending the Bhagvatam classes, reading the scriptures, we got to know a lot of things. The Siddhant, the right tattva about Krishna and everything related to Krishna's name, fame, qualities, pastime. So that's why this gyan is called Sambandh Gyan. And Sambandh Gyan basically also means that it establishes one in one's original identity with respect to the Lord's identity. So like, we are servant of the Lord, and what kind of servant, like what kind of rasa we are with the Lord. So that is Sambandh Gyan. So without Sambandh Gyan, you cannot even actually take the holy name. You cannot chant properly and purely. Okay. And what does it mean that we are getting taste in chanting the holy name? So this is very important, because many devotees, they think that sometimes when they are able to chant attentively, they think that, okay, now I'm able to chant good rounds. It's not like that. I mean, you are just hearing the holy name. Okay, so that's good. I mean, if you are attentive, you're not chanting, and if you're able to hear the holy name. But Prabhupada also said that the name automatically should reveal, the Naam should lead to Rupa, Rup should lead to Guna, Gun should lead to Leela of the Lord. So basically, what it means, it means that when you chant the name, when you're hearing the name of the Lord, it should remind you of the form of the Lord. And once the form is there, then the qualities should be revealed, which means that you should know what are the qualities of Krishna. And then the qualities of the Lord will also connect you to the pastimes of the Lord. So Nam Rup Guna Leela, it's a sequence, and this is the sequence in which it follows. This is our acharyas, they say like that. And now the question is that when you are chanting the holy name, are all these things manifested to you automatically? And even if they are manifested, did you ever think that how is it manifested? You can only remember the form of the Lord because maybe you have seen the form of the Lord in the temple, which means that you have seen the deity form of Krishna in the temple. Let's say a child does not know anything about God. So he has never seen anything when the child is like 1 or 2 years old. Later on, the parents, they will introduce the child to the different uh, forms of the Lord, like Narsimha, Vara, Ram, Krishna, like that. And then they will explain to the child, this is Krishna, this is Ram, right? So this is the first time the child actually is seeing the form of the Lord. And that's how the child knows that, okay, this form is actually Krishna. But before that, the child does not know who is Krishna. How does Krishna look like, right? So there are so many Westerners who do not even know the different demigods that we have in our scriptures, or the different forms of God that we have. Once they get connected to the Eastern culture, then they become familiar. So this is our first introduction to the form of the Lord, which is basically in the deity form. So you can say that Nam Rupa. So Rup basically means the deity form of the Lord. And then now talking about the guna, qualities of the Lord. So how do you know the qualities of the Lord? The name is not going to manifest the qualities. All these things will happen automatically or in front of your eyes at the stage of bhav, because at the state of bhav you are seeing Krishna directly, so he will reveal everything to you. But at the lower stages, when we are practicing, this is going to be a form of some sort of practice, a meditation, uh, whatever you have heard and whatever you can remember. So see, that's why again I said that Shravanam comes first. After that, Kirtanam. So you hear basically qualities. How do you know about the qualities of the Lord? You read scriptures and you read about Krishna's pastimes, and then you become more and more aware of the qualities of the Lord. Lord is so merciful, he's so compassionate. Only Krishna is the form of God that can actually liberate demons. No other form of God can do that. So these are all the wonderful qualities of Krishna. Then how does Krishna look like? He has a threefold bending form, and he's carrying a flute with him. And like, so the different aspects of Krishna is described in the scriptures. So again, it is coming from hearing. What is scriptural reading? It is basically silent hearing. So it's all coming from Shravanam. So when you hear from Guru, when you hear from devotees, you hear from scriptures, you get knowledge. That knowledge, when you chant the holy name, that knowledge is, then it converts into remembrance. So that's why Prabhupada said that when you chant the holy name before going to bed, the next day morning, then in the previous night you should read Krishna book, because when you read Krishna's leelas, then when you chant in the morning, automatically you basically be able to remember Krishna's pastimes. So Nam Rupa Guna, and then that gun will ultimately, it will manifest the leelas of the Lord. So now again, how do we remember the leelas of the Lord? It's not manifested to us spontaneously. So we know leelas of the Lord because we have heard about it, we have read it in the scriptures, and that's how the sequence follows. So this is the process how we are supposed to chant the holy name. And how do we know how much taste and advance we are in the holy name? That will depends on the sequence. The more you are steady in your uh, chanting the holy name and hearing, and that hearing leading you to the remembrance of the form, qualities, and pastimes, the more throughout the day you are able to remember the pastimes of the Lord, be attached to the Lord, then you can understand that your chanting has it's becoming powerful. Okay. And of course, once you get a lot of taste in chanting the holy name or in Krishna's leelas, automatically your taste for the material world will slacken, and you will not be affected by the dualities of the material world. You will transcend them. So this is the process, and of course that will go from Shraddha to Prema. We are at the stage of Anartha Nivritti, Bhajan Kriya Anartha Nivritti. It's also very difficult to cross Anartha Nivritti, because there are so many symptoms of Anartha Nivritti that we'll discuss in the next class. So yeah, it is also mentioned by Srila Vishwanath Thakur that when we chant the name, the Lord's mind starts dwelling on us. This is the glory of the holy name. He starts remembering us. What to speak of we trying to be struggling to remember the Lord, but the Lord immediately starts remembering us. So, and that's how the Lord actually remembered Ajamil. So although Ajamil did not even call the Lord, he was calling his son, but the moment he chanted the name of Narayan, the Lord remembered Ajamil, and he ordered the Vishnu Dutas to bring it. Um, so, yeah. Then Lord Chaitanya also says that in order for the holy name to be effective, and this is stated by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says that there are three things that a Vaishnav should do. That he says that Nam Ruchi has to be assisted with Vaishnav Seva and Jeev Daya. So very, very important. When the more we serve devotees, because of course you know that serving devotees is more glorious and more important than serving the Lord directly. So the more we become servant of servant of servant, the more we serve devotees, and the more we spread Krishna consciousness, more we try to give it to others. Jeev Daya, the more we get taste in the holy name. The more we get taste in the holy name, the more we become eager and enthusiastic to distribute the holy names and to serve devotees. So it's a kind of a you can say interconnected process. You know, it's all connected together. Srila Gaur Govind Maharaj once he mentioned that there is nothing such as perfection achieved through sadhana in Kali Yuga. So he says that what have we attained by so many years of our sadhana? So what he's saying is that in Kali Yuga, what kind of sadhana can you do? And do you think that just by chanting 16 rounds, that's a sadhana? Or by chanting 16 rounds or repetitive principles or chanting more rounds also, 64 rounds or whatever, is that a sadhana? It's nothing actually compared to the previous yugas. So he says that actually we are totally dependent on the mercy of Guru than our own strength. So in all circumstances, we should always remember that a devotee, although whatever sadhana he may do, in Kali Yuga, the see, even if the quantity is good, but the quality has to be there in the sadhana. The quality, like you may chant. That's why it is said, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that chant millions of rounds for millions of lifetimes, but you cannot attain the Lord. But if you chant one syllable of the holy name purely, then immediately you attain the lotus feet of the Lord. So this is the reality. This is a fact. The quality is one can say that quality is equivalent to thousands and thousands of parts of quantity. Like you can say like that, because the Lord is he seeks the essence of the devotee's mood. He's bhavgrahi and he's sargrahi. He sees the essence of the devotee's bhav, and he sees the bhav, the emotion of the devotee. So this is very important. That's why it has to be quality, not just mechanical. Anything that we do in Krishna consciousness has to be quality. And that's why Yug Dharma is Nam Sankirtan. It is not Japa. So that's the Shastra is recommending Yug Dharma is Nam Sankirtan. It is not Japa, technically speaking. So Nam Sankirtan is basically to take shelter of the name in the association of devotees and with the help of each other. So our own strength is not going to work out in Kali Yuga, but it is basically the effective uh, mercy of the Vaishnavas, the taking shelter of the Vaishnavas. Of course, we do Nam Jap because to some extent we should have some individual strength also, because ultimately one has to fly their own plane at the end of the, because we are not going to be together forever, not every one of us. And we know that there are devotees who have left the body without the presence of anyone around them. It's not necessary that devotees are always surrounded by other devotees. Uh, they may be surrounded by karmis, they may be alone, and they may leave the body at any point of time. So the ultimate test is that one has to follow the instructions of one's guru, the sadhana that he has given to us very sincerely. So that gives individual strength. And in that individual strength also, we are individually contributing in the Sangha. So let's say there are thousands of devotees. Okay. But then what is the effect of thousands of Kanishtadikaris? If all the devotees are Kanishtadikaris, they are neophytes, what is going to be the strength of that Sangha? Hardly anything. But what to speak if the Sangha is that of Madhyamadikaris? And then what to speak of that of Uttamadikaris? Right? So in that sense, one has to cultivate one's own individual strength and purity. Of course, we know that purity and strength does not come from our own strength. Ultimately, we try to please the mercy of, we beg for the mercy of our Guru. Through their mercy only we come to that particular platform. So in Kali Yuga, it is almost impossible that one can attain a result simply by one's own strength. We are totally kind of dependent on the mercy of Guru and Vaishnavas, like that. So individual strength is also important, but we have to always remember that collective strength is most important in Kali Yuga. And Andhra Prabhu, he compares this Sankirtan with the Ras Leela. And it's very interesting that the Acharyas, they mention that Krishna is most pleased when there is Sankirtan, when there is Ras Leela. He is not pleased that much when he is individually present with Radharani and the Gopis in the Nikunjas. So Japa is like Nikunj Leela, and the Sankirtan is like Ras Leela. So the Krishna is most pleased when devotees are all together. In one of the purports in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's very interesting. Srila Prabhupada says one very interesting, he makes a very interesting comment. He says that in Kali Yuga, because it is very like, first he quotes Krishna from the Bhagavad Gita. He says that the Lord is demanding surrender to us. Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam braja. Aham tva sarva papevya mokshami masucha. So the Lord is demanding surrender from us. But Kali Yuga, because we cannot surrender, it's not easy to surrender to the Lord. That's why the recommended process is to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. The Prabhupada says like that. So, and so that when you chant the name constantly, you will come to the platform of surrender. So ultimately, which is superior? Is it chanting of the holy name, or is it the surrender, mood of surrender? And of course, the mood of surrender is the most important, because you may chant millions of rounds, but you may never want to surrender to the Lord. Then that kind of chanting will not have any effect. Whereas if you are chanting with the mood of surrender, like the willingness to surrender to the Lord, to the Lord's desire, then when you chant the holy name, it will give you maximum result. Right? So because we are not able to surrender to the Lord in Kali Yuga, that's why we are actually recommended the process of the Yoga Dharma, which is the Harinam Sankirtan. And so we can actually realize what is the goal of chanting Hare Krishna. The goal of chanting Hare Krishna is to get prema for the Lord. And what is the meaning of to get prema for the Lord? Get prema means to totally surrender to the Lord. So acting according to the Lord's desire. We just want to please the Lord. That is the goal. So this is the meaning of surrender. So one time Srila Prabhupada also said that if we if we only chant but do not do any practical service, then that won't be effective. And then in another context, Srila Prabhupada says the opposite one time, when one Prabhupada disciple, and I think he was temple president, so he went to Prabhupada and he told Prabhupada that he was actually complaining about one of his godbrothers who was only chanting the holy name and he was not doing any practical service in temple. So he went and expressed to Prabhupada that Prabhupada, this devotee is not doing any much tangible service. And Prabhupada said, so do you think that chanting Hare Krishna is not the service? And then Prabhupada said that actually chanting Hare Krishna is the greatest service. So Prabhupada said different things at different times. Yeah, but I think Prabhupada understood the bhav of the devotee and the mood of the devotee, and maybe he knew the heart of the devotee. So that's why he allowed that kind of feeling. Whereas in other circumstance, depending on the need and circumstances, sometimes the Guru will demand certain services which will take precedence over chanting of the holy name. So ultimately, one thing is also very important to understand is that, and this also we have covered in the class where the name of the class is which is more important, sadhana or seva. And in that class, I have explained that it is the Sadguru. If a Guru is a Sadguru, and if he is recommending us to do a particular act of bhakti at a particular time, then that becomes the most important seva at that particular time. So it has to be, it precedes over everything else. Okay. So because Guru is the representative of the Lord, and it's, unless we don't surrender to the Guru's will, we can actually not understand Krishna's will, because Krishna does not appear to us directly. So it is the faith that we should have is that the Guru is representative of Krishna, and by following the instruction of Guru, we are satisfying Krishna. This is the only faith that we can have. Yeah, and I would also like to share something very practical from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela. Basically, in the time of Narottam Das Thakur, Shyamanand Prabhu and Srimad Acharya, they were distributing books. So this is a recorded letter in the uh, past where Narottam Das Thakur is lamenting when less books are being distributed. So Jiva Goswami, containing the annual book distribution totals for the year ending with Gaurpunim of the year Shaka 1501 AD 1579. So Narottam laments the poor scores and said that until someone comes along and invents the printing press, it looks like it will be impossible to develop prema. He prays to take birth in that distant future so that he too can distribute books in the streets and marketplaces and get Mahaprabhu's mercy. For what use is chanting or worshipping or discussing Harikatha when their book distribution scores are so low? So a typical and classic example of the life of one of the associates, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is lamenting and is showing by example that what is the use of so-called chanting when we are not able to distribute books. So he's also seeking to take birth in the distant future so that he can get Mahaprabhu's mercy. So see, this is the importance of distributing books of our acharyas, and such an important and great service. So it should not be minimized, and it also shows that what needs to be done at what particular time, and that is decided by the Sadguru. So one thing also we learn from this is that the holy name, of course, is the foundational principle, is the backbone of the movement. It is the goal. It's a sadhana and the sadhya both for us. But when what to do is all decided by the Guru. And that's why sometimes, we have to give priority to devotees. Sometimes we give priority to seva. Sometimes we give priority to other things. So it all depends. Yeah, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, one time he said that Harinam as Yug Dharma is the understanding for outsiders, but Vaishnav Seva is actually for insiders. So this is the glory of Vaishnav Seva. So one may be chanting the holy name, but if one does not serve the devotees, then he has missed the point. So that's why, even Bhaktivinoda Thakur stressed so much on Vaishnav Seva and all the acharyas. Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannatha and Namaha. So Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj also, he also was the personification of Vaishnav Seva. Were very, very dear to the devotees. So Srila Gaurkis Das Babaji once said that one can realize one's Swarup just by chanting the holy name, and the syllables of the holy name will reveal one's Swarup. And amongst the names of all the different forms of the Lord, the name of Krishna is the most powerful, and it awards the greatest results. Yeah, and one time His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, he said that hearing and chanting are the main services, and rest becomes mundane if we don't do these two main services. So rest of all other things will begin. So hearing and chanting are like a Vedic couple; they cannot be divorced. Okay, so this is very important, and that's why Srila Prabhupada says, and this is given in the book of Srila Giriraj Maharaj, in the Jew story. So Krishna consciousness is a process. Without the process, Kirtan is simply sound vibration. It has no real effect. And Prabhupada says further that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur compared it to the vibration of alphabet ABCD. It is the process that is important. So if you follow the process properly, which means what we have discussed till now, that along with chanting, we have Shravanam, we have the deity worship, we have association, we have Vaishnav Seva, Jeev Daya, all these things when we are doing it, then we are actually going to get the true effect of the holy name completely. Okay, so it becomes like a mechanical sound, just like, like in a gun, there is no bullet, but when you start firing, it will only make sound. There's not going to be effect because the bullet is not there. So the bullet is there in the many different instructions the guru gives us, and the process basically. So that's why after chanting of 16 rounds, the greatest and most important service, the first and foremost, is to read, hear, understand the books of the acharyas. Otherwise, all services are external and without much effect, because you'll not be able to understand which services take precedence, how it should be performed, when it should be performed, and like what priority should be given. So all these things, and of course, even if you're doing the service, but if you do not read the shastras, you do not hear the shastras, then you'll not be able to, internally your mind will be somewhere else, it will be distracted. And it is also a possibility that most of your services will be just a show in order to attract name and fame, in order to attract respect and attention from devotees. Because the main goal or the purpose of all these services is, of course, to chant the name purely. And that means that you basically remember the Lord as much as possible. So you internalize your bhakti. Your bhakti has different stages, and I will also explain to you that it also is in 3 stages. It is in the stage at the stage of body, at the stage of words, at the stage of mind. So you may do something externally, but your words may gossip about someone. That is the first level of steadiness in bhakti. The body, in terms of body, you may be steady. Externally, you may do whatever is required, but then your words are not purified enough. The second stage, the words are purified in the sense that you discuss mainly about services, about katha, about Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Vaishnavas, devotees, everything positive. So that is at the stage of steadiness, at the stage of words. And then finally at the state of mind, which means that you internalize your bhakti, which means whatever you have heard, you practice externally, and you remember the Lord internally. And you serve the Lord, of course, that's a very high stage where you actually start serving the Lord internally. Yeah, so sadhana, as Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, the first and foremost is health. You cannot do anything else without good health, because we are conditioned in Kali Yuga, we are sadhakas. We cannot imitate the exalted Nitya Siddhas. So, see, they can transcend health. They, without health also, they can totally take shelter of the Lord. But when our health is spoiled, when we suffer, that time we are not able to remember the Lord that much. It's very difficult to take shelter of the Lord. So keep your health good. Next comes sadhana. First priority is health. Second priority is sadhana. If devotees have a conflict between seva and sadhana, they don't have time for so much time for sadhana apart from 16 rounds. I would say better to focus on your sadhana more, and after that give importance to seva. If you are giving too much importance to seva, compromising your sadhana, that means you want name and fame. Although your desire may be to serve, but then you have not understood the process. The process is that you cannot actually contribute unless you have something with you. So unless you cannot, so the, like if you have a diamond, then you can share the diamond. If you have silver, you cannot share diamond with others. So the more you go internally, the more you are developed internally, the more your effect of your preaching and service will be. So this is what you need to understand, and that's why sadhana takes precedence over seva. And finally, seva. Uh, yeah. So in the Dancing White Elephants books by Srila Giriraj Maharaj, it is also mentioned. Srila Prabhupada states this, and he says that while chanting, one should focus on the bewitching form of the Lord, the guna, the lila, all these qualities and all. Because there is a question, so this is a frequently asked question by devotees. Oh, should we just hear the holy name? Because Prabhupada says one place that we should only hear the holy name, the sound vibration, and we should not artificially think about the guna lila pastimes of the Lord. But in other context, other places, Prabhupada says that that is the desired result. He says that this is desired. Ultimately, your Savanam of the holy name should lead you to Nam Rup Guna Leela. So that's why the recommended process is that one should focus on the form of the Lord. Try to focus as much as possible. And what does that mean? It means that your focusing should not disturb your hearing of the holy name. So when there is a conflict between hearing of holy name and your remembering of the Lord, it should not be affected. But when those things become simultaneously present, then it's a very good indication that your hearing is now naturally going to Nama Rupa Guna Leela. So Andhra Prabhu also in the book recently one of disciples of Srila Tamal Krishna Maharaj, his name Kalachandji. So he has written a book on the biography of Andhra Prabhu, Kirtan Revolution, Andhra Kirtan Revolution. And one devotee is asking question to Andhra Prabhu that, and he says he is expressing his heart to Andhra Prabhu. He says that I heard from one sannyasi that we are not supposed to remember the form, the qualities and pastimes of the Lord. So Andhra Prabhu immediately corrects him and he says that this is not the process. The process is, our acharyas, they explained that one has to gradually go ahead. Nam Rupa Guna Leela. One should try to look out for the form of the Lord. And what does that mean? It means that if you have seen the deities, if you are attached to the deities, if you have seen the form of the Lord, you spend time with the form of the Lord, naturally the form of the Lord will be remembered at the time of chanting. So one must also be attached to the form of the Lord, specific form of the Lord. And then it will be easier to remember while chanting. And of course, one should take shelter of the scriptures to understand Krishna's qualities and pastimes. So that way you will always be able to go ahead in your chanting. Now, what does it mean? Okay, so I think it will take another half an hour, I think, to finish the entire class. Yeah, I think I hope it's okay with all the devotees. Maybe max.
Sure. What you said, Prabhuji?
It may take around 20 minutes or more.
Oh, okay, Prabhuji. Since it's weekdays, so the devotees can stay.
Okay, so should we stop here and can we take questions or should we try to finish it off? We can continue in the next class probably.
Yes, Prabhuji, that will be good. Yes. So,
okay, all right. So let's stop here. There are certain important things also remaining. We will cover in the next class. Okay, so all right. Any questions and comments from the devotees?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danda Pranam. All goes to Sri Prabhupada. That's such a nice class reflecting upon the conflicts that we sometimes go through quite frequently at that, for that matter, in our Krishna conscious life, conflicting requirements of sadhana and the seva, and also how to enrich, how to make the chanting more deeper. Yes, so the very, very important points that you have brought out, and it's so important to reflect upon them. And yes, it is important that Mahaprabhu said that that is the ultimate level, the penultimate level, so to say, that Nayanam Galadastu Dharaya Bodanam Gadgad Rudha Avira Pulaka Nichida Istam Bahupada Tavanam Grahane Bhavishyat. The Nam should give rise to all kinds of the Ashtadha, if the eightfold the Sattvic Vikar, Ashtu Sattvic Vikar, if it is not, at least the tears should come. Otherwise, that is one side, and another side, the Yamaraj is telling in Canto 6, Sanketyam Parihasamba, that is Helane, Stovam Helane Yavava, Vaikuntham Dam Grahanam, Asishaka Haram Vidu. So saying even if somebody do Sanket, he has a Sanket as a signal, as a parihasya, as a kind of as a joking, a stovham with a musical entertainment or helane or neglectfully, even if they does that. For example, there's the Ratnagar Daku. So he said Mora Mora. So of course he was blessed by the Narad Muni. So I mean, but still he Mora Mora delivered him. So so that way two sides are there, two sides of the coin, both are true. So that is one question. And yes, I mean other one, I think you were otherwise not a question though, it's a comment. Yes, the sadhana, about the conflict between sadhana and the seva. Yes, Krishna says that in chapter 12. I mean the Mayeva mana adhasta, my buddhi niveshasya mameva auto urdham na samsaya. So for Krishna, if somebody can attach his mind fully always, that is the topmost. And if he cannot auto samadhatum na shaknosi moisthiram, then only if you are not able to keep your mind steady on me, then only you do abhyas. All these bhakti, of course, one is at the Raganuga level and the Ragatmika level, the first one. We may not be able to go there, but yes, I mean, but it is possible only through the bhajan. Bhajan means sadhana. So sometimes seva, if you can marry the seva and sadhana, the bhajan and seva together, it's the best. And that is the comment part. But the question is, Prabhu, that two sides of the coin, that is the Naram Galadastu Dharaya versus the Sanketam Parihasama Soham Helani Vevava. So could you please cast a light, some light on that?
On what?
On one side is the Mahaprabhu is saying that when I take your name, oh my Lord, tears come to my eyes, my Galadam Ruddha, my voice gets choked, and all my hair stand on end. That is one side. Another side is Yabraj is telling Yamadutas, even if somebody, I'll tell the translation. One who chants the holy name of the Lord is immediately freed from the reactions of unlimited sins, even if he chants indirectly to indicate something else, jokingly, of a musical entertainment, or even neglectfully. This is accepted by all learned scholars. So can I say that even if somebody starts with this, but gradually he will rise up to that level? Is it like that?
Okay. So the Ajamil example is that of exceptional case, and that particular case has been explained by Srila Vishwanath Thakur in his commentary to the Bhagvatam shloka, and we have discussed that in detail earlier. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that tears should come from the eyes, of course that's the stage of ecstasy. It's at the stage of bhava and prema, and with the related to this verse, we were supposed to cover one particular. I had already shared that we'll be covering one verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is from the CC Adi Lila, chapter 8, verse number 31, where it is said, Chaitanya Nityananda Nai Sab Vichar Nama Laite Premadana Vaya Ashudara. So, if one only chants with some slight faith the holy names of Chaitanya and Nityananda, one very quickly is cleansed of all offenses. Thus, as soon as he chants Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he feels the ecstasy of love of God. So, we'll be discussing this purport that Prabhupada has written here in detail. It's a very important purport. And yeah, so, but one thing we need to understand that this stage is at the stage of Bhava and Prem. So, I think we can easily relate why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that, and it's the stage of perfection, and we are at the stage of practice. So we'll not come to that particular platform unless we are in the stage of bhava. Right? So that's why we have to cross anartha nivriti, we have to go nishtha, ruchi, asakti, and then finally at the state of bhav, constant tears, hair standing on end, and the sattvic vichars or whatever you're talking about, the vichari bhavs, the transitory emotions, all these will come automatically. But that happens at the stage of bhav, not before that. So, anyways, the point is that we are not, see, our main service is the pleasure of the Lord. And that's why in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu also, Rupa Goswami gives example of one of the associates of Lord in Dwarka who is fanning the Lord. And while fanning the Lord, he is experiencing a lot of symptoms of bhava, ecstasy. So that ecstasy is interfering with his service. And at that particular point of time, he decides that he will suppress his symptoms so that he will be able to serve the Lord properly. So this is the same thing. In our practical Krishna consciousness in ISKCON, we also give priority to the pleasure of the Lord. And if there are emotions or symptoms that conflict with the service, then we try to repress them. So the most important element is, as I said earlier, is the pleasure of Krishna, and that is understood by the instructions of Guru. So whatever Guru, like Prabhupada also said, like for example, when devotees were chanting when they went to Vrindavan, and when they wanted to chant and experience the Dham, and they wanted to wander from one forest to another forest, they want to see the forest, but then that time Prabhupada gave them some very physical, intense physical service, like because they were building the temples, so they were supposed to count the bricks, count the cement bags, and devotees went to Prabhupada and said that, Prabhupada, we thought that we'll be in Vrindavan and we'll be experiencing ecstasy, but here we are doing the same things that we are doing in US also. So what's the difference? Prabhupada said, counting cement bags and counting the bricks is your chanting. So not different from that. So that's why I said that it all depends on time, circumstance. And even if you can chant the name in terms of quantity, but there is no guarantee of quality in that, okay? And quality is determined by your lifetime of efforts of pleasing the devotees, of pleasing the Guru, pleasing the Lord, the attitude that, and then of course not committing any offenses, that will actually make you chant purely. It is not going to be your only constant of chanting of the holy names. Your total life of dedication, your consciousness, that is going to decide your pure chanting of the holy name or not. So I hope it makes sense.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, your class was so nice, as always. So many points to take home, and your session is so valued. Haribo.
All glories to our glorious Guru Parampara. Yeah, okay, all right. Any other devotees, they have any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj.
Yes.
Very, very wonderful class, Prabhuji. Because it every time adds some knowledge to our existing vocabulary, I can say. But only one thing, by doing sadhana or chanting, like, our sadhana, like, what is the best way to achieve Vishnu Tattva? That is my small question.
What is the best way to attain the Lord? By
Attain
sadhana
the
of
Vishnu
sadhana?
Tattva, yeah.
Yeah, so again, the same thing, like what I've repeatedly said, that so you want to attain the Lord, that means you have to please the Lord. For His pleasure, we have to do everything. And that means, because we cannot see the Lord currently, that's why we should have faith that the Guru is the representative of the Lord, and the Guru, whatever he says, that we have to follow. If we are doing it, we are in good shape. And of course, with time, if we are purified sufficiently, then we can go back to Godhead. A devotee does not even actually pray to go back to Godhead. He leaves that choice up to the Lord and the Guru, because a pure devotee always thinks, because when he is seeing that his Guru is not willing to go to the spiritual world, and he wants to come to the material world to preach and deliver all the conditioned soul, then the pure follower of the Guru will also desire to assist the Guru. And that's why we say, Janme Janme Prabhu se Divya Gyan Hridaya Prakashito. So one understanding of that is the disciple also takes birth in the universe where the Guru appears and assists the Guru. Prabhupada said one time that Acharya never goes back to Godhead. He will keep coming to the material world and he will deliver the conditioned souls. And then the disciple asked him that, okay, so does it mean that the Acharya is also in the spiritual world and he's also here? And Prabhupada said, yes, something like that. So basically, Acharya is in the material world, but he is also in his Swarupa, in his original Swarup, with Krishna in the spiritual world. So that way he's simultaneously present. And the disciple also desires the same. So this is actually real purity. A devotee never desires something for himself. In fact, we are talking about Vrajvasis. Vrajvasis' level of prema is very intense. You remember the past time where Narad Muni once went to the Dwarka Mahishis and he first actually he went to Krishna, and then when Krishna was glorifying the Vrajvasis, in spite of staying in Dwarka, so Narad Muni was wondering why he's specifically glorifying the Vraj Gopis instead of the Dwarka Mahishis. So then Krishna told him that I will give you one test. You can experiment this, and then you can come to me and tell me what happened. So then Krishna told Narad Muni that you go to the Dwarka Mahishis and to the Vraj Gopis and tell them that I have a severe headache. And if you'd like me to cure my headache, then you'll have to give the dust of your feet. So then Narad Muni first goes to the Dwarka Mahishis, and Dwarka Mahishis, they are very unhappy to hear that Krishna has a headache. And then Narada is telling the solution. So if you want to relieve the Lord, then give your dust. But then they are so anxious because they cannot do that. They are in awe and reverence with the Lord. So they start thinking that, oh, how can we give our dust to the Lord, because then we'll go to the hell forever. And but then Narad Muni goes to the Vraj Gopis and he is asking the same thing. The Vraj Gopis are very eagerly, very greedily, they give the dust. They start collecting the dust from their feet and they give it to Narad Muni. And Narad Muni says that, do you know the meaning of this? You'll go to hell eternally. And then Gopis reply that, do you know what it means to love Krishna? It means that even for a fraction of a second, if if our life eternally goes to hell, we are willing to do that. So this is the level of the Vraj Gopis and the Vrajvasis. Very high level. We cannot even think of that. We are just we can just aspire for it by the mercy of our Guru and Acharya Parampara. But this is, I just shared this to make everyone understand that this is what a devotee has to aspire and desire. They don't even want to go back to Godhead. They want Krishna's service and his pleasure at every moment, like that.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, this is Geeta. Thank you so much for explaining this most important topic, for which we every day we are doing this for the pleasure of the Lord. But now we have the order of how we chronologically have to go through it. Mike, I wanted to ask you if we are at a disadvantage if the Shiksha Guru. Are you talking about pleasing the Shiksha Guru in this case? Lord is very happy, you said, right? That if we can reach him mostly only through our Guru. So is that the Shiksha Guru? And secondly, if the Shiksha Guru is not in the same town, so we are at a huge disadvantage.
Okay, so this is topic concerning Guru Tattva. First and foremost, see, the thing is that of course the Guru is giving us Krishna. It is not that Guru is separate than Krishna. When we are doing limbs of bhakti and sadhana, we are connected with Krishna and we are also pleasing Krishna, because all these limbs of bhakti, they are pleasing to the Lord. So Guru won't say that, okay, stop doing this. Okay, the only thing is when the particular time comes, when there is something which is more important, then the Guru will interfere and he will say that, okay, at this particular time, this is more important, as Prabhupada did. Now, only a Sadguru can do that. Sadguru means someone who is eternally a Guru, which means that he is always on a liberated platform. I mean, it does not, I do not mean to say that a Guru is always a Nityasiddha or he can never fall down, because there are also instances of some sages in the who acted as Guru, but they had fallen down later on and they reinstated again their position. So in the Shastra, it talks about many things. Nowhere it says that a guru has to be a Nitya Siddha, coming from the spiritual world, or he can never fall down. No, there have been cases where it, so, but the point what I am saying is that um, guru is someone who is actually going to decide how much sadhana, how much seva we are supposed to do, and what is exactly going to please the Lord at that particular time, or what is the need of the Lord at that particular time. So that is something that he will convey. So there are specific instructions of the guru and there are general instructions of the guru. General instructions mainly consist of the limbs of bhakti, like for example, chanting of 16 rounds, following the regulative principles. These are for lifetime. So these are permanent instructions. To be a servant of the servant, humility, all these things, they are like permanent instructions. And then there are specific instructions where the guru has the right to interfere when something has to be done. So that instruction will become a temporary instruction. We are supposed to do that at that particular time. So I hope this is clear. Coming to the guru now, who is that? Is that the Siksha Guru? Is that the Diksha Guru? So for those who have not taken initiation yet, or it may refer to the Siksha Guru, and those who have taken initiation can refer to both Siksha and Diksha Guru. Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami says that both are identical manifestations of the absolute truth. It means that both are supposed to help you, bring you closer to the Lord, and both are supposed to destroy your doubts or confusions. It's so they are not meant to create confusion in your life. So like for example, Diksha Guru is saying something and Siksha Guru is saying something really opposite. No, it has to be reconciled. It needs to be resolved. So um, once a disciple is inspired by a particular devotee, and to the extent that he wants to take regular guidance and instructions, then that particular devotee who is giving guidance becomes a very important personality. And of course, whether you consider that devotee as a guru, because guru is a, it's not a loose term. It's not a light term. It's a heavy term, which means that there is a responsibility when you consider someone as a guru. So otherwise, you can say that other devotees, they are like mentors. They are your guides, mentors. But when you say specifically about a guru, then guru has responsibility. Responsibility is that he will take you back to Godhead. He will connect you to Krishna. He will also be responsible for your actions. He takes your karma, and all these things are there. So that's a very sensitive and responsible position when you connect someone as a guru. So if that devotee is following regulative principles strictly, he's surrendered to his guru parampara, and he's guiding you, then and if you think that he's your guru, then yeah, then you can think of that devotee as a Siksha Guru. Okay. Um, Especially when he is guiding you for a longer period of time. So to satisfy and to please such kind of devotees is also one of the most important sevas in bhakti. Okay, so that's very important. So you have to please those devotees. So it may be your Vartama Pradaksha Guru, it may be your Siksha Guru and Diksha Guru. Of course, to what limit you have to surrender, what limit you have to please them. That is so. When you talk about Diksha Guru and the Siksha Guru, now what does Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami say in CC? He says that they are identical manifestations of the Lord. So when you actually start seeing someone as a role model, as a role inspiration in your life, as a guru, and that guru can be Siksha and Diksha Guru, then yeah, you have to follow them with all your heart and soul, and you have to please them. You have to surrender to them. But there may be some devotees who are not that much inspiring to you, or they are not playing so much important role in your life. So you can please them, you can satisfy them, you can serve them, but it's not necessary you may consider them as on the level of guru. That's a completely different thing. So because if you cannot, so although the scriptures they say that you can have multiple guru, Siksha Gurus, and only one Diksha Guru, but even multiple gurus, how many can you have? Because you are limited by, see, when you say that you have multiple gurus, it's not just a name and fame thing. Okay, it's basically means that you have to serve them also, because they have guided you, they have provided knowledge to you, they have been there for you for so many years. It has to be followed by service. and you cannot service you cannot serve all of them. How many can you serve in one body? So you have to be very specific also who can be your gurus. Okay, it's not something that has to be taken very lightly. So there's a term which is called as moderator or mentor or a guide, but that is not same as guru, and so you have to be careful in that. But when you really want to treat someone as guru, then you have to be really sure that you see them as representatives of the Lord. You should not discriminate then between your Diksha and Siksha gurus. And Prabhupada says that the one from whom you take regular Shiksha naturally becomes your Diksha guru later on. So, of course, that's a matter of inspiration. And then you can get inspiration from other devotees also who can inspire you in your bhakti. But then you have to be very specific who is your guru, who is your gurujan, like that. So, I hope it helps. It makes sense.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. So, the guru who takes over the karma of his disciple. I don't know whether Shiksha Guru or Diksha Guru, both of them take it, or one of them takes it.
Yeah. So okay, yeah. So it's a basically a Guru Tattva question, and I think maybe in the previous sessions, I think I have taken 3 sessions on Guru Tattva where I've explained all these things. But to summarize, so see, when you start considering someone as your guru, no matter they may be your Shiksha or Diksha guru, and if they accept you also, that they will guide you, they will serve you by guiding you, by uh, helping you in your spiritual life, then of course the guru, in fact, one thing you are not aware that whenever the scriptures talk about especially the Shrutis talks about guru disciple relationship, it is actually the Siksha relationship, because uh, the process is that of giving knowledge. Tad vijnanartham sa gurum eva vigacchate, and then yasadeva para bhakti yasadeva tatha guru. So it does not mention anything about the guru giving the mantras in that particular statements in the scriptures. So generally you'll see that most of the statements they are referring to the Siksha Guru. They're not even addressing the Diksha Guru. Okay, so basically whoever accepts the rule of Guru, they will take your karma. Whether they are Diksha or Shiksha Guru does not matter, because they are providing knowledge. Through the knowledge, they are destroying your doubts. That knowledge is helping you to destroy your karmas. And of course, see what to speak of Guru, even a Purohit who is performing some ritual marriage ceremony, or who is also doing some kind of ritual whenever you invite some, like for yagya or something, that Purohit also taking some karma. A king is also taking karma of the citizens. So whoever is a leader and whoever is a dependent, so they take the karma of the dependents. So that's why it is also mentioned in the Bhagvatam, what to speak of Guru. Your father, mother, parents who are in a leadership position for the dependents, they should not act as Guru unless they actually are devotees of the Lord. They should not take the position of Guru. They should not be father and mother. This is what the Bhagavatam says. Okay, so they take karma of the dependents. So like that, we have to understand. Yeah, of course, the Guru will take the different devotees. They also take karma. When someone is providing knowledge, they also have to take karma. But all depends on the degree to what is their responsibility for the disciple. So, like for example, I am giving a class of once in a month. So there's some karma involved, exchange of karma involved. I mean, when we preach also, Prabhupada also said, when preaching, when we are distributing books, we are giving knowledge to others. So we are taking some of their karma. And that's why Prabhupada said that sadhana is very important for devotees. So they will become strong and they will have the strength to face that karma, to face that karmic reaction. So, yeah, but that is for temporary. But then if someone is guiding you throughout the year, throughout your life, they are taking more karma because they are seeing you as your disciple, like that. So I hope it makes sense to you.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. Definitely. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Yes, any other question or comments?
The question about what you mentioned, that Sankirtan in congregational chanting is more important than japa. So sometimes we, maybe in Zoom calls, we are having japa where we chant together. So is that also Sankirtan, or only like with Mridanga Kartal singing is Sankirtan?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, in general, the principle is that when you are in an association of devotees, when you are chanting together, so it's not necessary to have the musical aspect of that. Of course, Sankirtan movement is specific for Kali Yuga because that's a very easy way to connect with the holy names. When you have the musical instruments, when you sing and when you dance in the Sankirtan. Okay, so that's why we have this Sankirtan movement which started by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And of course, one of the reasons that we have this dancing and singing is because it's a very emotional way to connect with the Lord. Like you, what happens in the spiritual world? There is all dancing and there is all singing, right? It is said that whatever you speak, it is all singing. Whatever one step you take in the spiritual world, that's all dancing in the spiritual world. Because ultimately your bhava emotions for the Lord will manifest in the form of ecstasy, in form of great happiness. And when you become very happy, then what are you going to do? You are going to dance. You are going to share with others. Like for example, like you appear for some kind of exam, let's say IIT exam, and you crack the exam, and that's your goal of life. So you have achieved one step in your life, in the goal of your life. So then that's a very happy moment for you. And so what are you going to do? You are going to throw a party, and you are going to invite your friends, and you are going to dance, and you are going to share your happiness with others. So this is the Sankirtan moment. But of course, Nam is the most important element. That's the foundation. So chanting japa together also is in one form. It is, you can say, it does not come in the category of kirtan because it is japa. So japa is supposed to be, it is not supposed to be loud chanting. Okay, it is supposed to be your individual connection with the Lord. Ideally, I would say that japa is meant for personal chanting. It's a personal effort. It's an individual strength and personal effort. If you become dependent on the devotees of the Lord for your japa, I don't think that's a good idea. So at some point of time, you have to cultivate some individual strength also. So whenever you are separated, you are not with devotees, at least you continue your japa with that much concentration, intention, attention, and that way you can connect with the Lord very easily. But if you always have the habit of chanting together with devotees, and one point of time if you are separated, then maybe it's going to be difficult for you to sustain that attentiveness for a longer period of time. So that's why japa concept is basically, it's an individual concept. It's an individual strength thing. That's why it is Nikunja Leela in one sense. It's a private thing. It's a confidential thing. You are not supposed to share with others that moment. So it's an individual connection with the Lord. But when you are coming together, loudly chanting the holy name, sharing with others, that is actually kirtan. So doing together is Sankirtan basically. So I hope it makes sense, Prabhu.
Chanting is also entering through our ears. So I was wondering if there's benefit there, but you're saying like individual chanting is better than group chanting.
Actually, so see, I would not mean exactly like that. What I'm saying is that don't be dependent on group chanting. Of course, the association of devotees is always the goal for any devotee, to always be in association of devotees to glorify the Lord. But then how do we know our individual strength? That's the most important thing. In the future, if you are separated from the devotees, how will you chant the holy name? How will you take shelter of the holy name? How will you realize what is your personal connection with the holy name? So that's why we have japa. And because of Kali Yuga, because of a lot of distractions and uh, difficulties in Kali Yuga, we take help of each other. But I think japa is a private thing. It's a personal thing. So and especially when you are in association chanting, are you hearing your own chanting or are you hearing others also chanting? That's also another question. Because we are supposed to hear our own chanting. It's an individual connection. So I would always think japa as something which is internal, which is private, and which is more individual based. Whereas kirtan, yeah, definitely come together and chant the holy name. Yeah, I mean sankirtan. Kirtan again. Now kirtan also, for example, it is loud chanting of the holy name. The japa is like, it's to yourself. Kirtan is like chanting loudly, and you can use musical instruments, or you choose not to use musical instruments. Still, it can become kirtan. And then when you are together with devotees, that becomes sankirtan. So sankirtan is recommended in Kali Yuga because our individual strength is very poor. It is very weak. So, but of course, the acharyas, they expect us to come to a certain stage. At least we should strive to become a madhyam adhikari. And in order to do that, our japa has to be very strong, which means that wherever we are at, we should, when we chant the holy name, we should be able to perceive the name, form, qualities, pastimes of the Lord. We should try to move ahead with that as much as possible. Now my question is that when you are sitting with the devotees in japa, what exactly are you thinking? Like what exactly is that? I mean, so that's why it is not compared to the Ras Leela. It is not together. It's a private Nikunj Leela where it is your offering to the Lord, your relation connection with the Lord. So it is meant to take you towards that goal. That's japa. And Sankirtan will basically help you in your japa. That collective strength will help individual strength. And then individual strength will also contribute in the collective strength. As I said that, like when all devotees are madhyamadhikaris, then the effect will be much higher. And what to speak when they're uttamadhikaris. So how do we decide whether one is madhyama or uttama? That's an individual strength. It is not based on the dependence on other devotees. That's why Prabhupada said that ultimately at the end of the day, everyone has to fly their own plane. So one has to become strong. And of course, that is achieved by the mercy of devotees and Guru. But then some level of purity and strength has to be there individually. So how do you, when you chant the holy name, are you only focusing on your relation with Krishna? Is the holy name taking you to name, roop, naam, roop, guna, leela? And then what kind of leela? There are Madhuri leela, there are Sakya leela, there is Vatsya leela. What kind of leelas are you participating? That cannot be common for everyone. It's individual. So do you understand now? Like, the japa has to be private, it has to be individual.
Thank you very much. And yet to bring us to a certain standard initially, like the group chanting helps, because we set the time, everybody comes together, so we can't, make an excuse, and then we don't fall asleep because others are chanting.
Exactly.
So,
So basically, we need
Yes, Prabhuji,
sleep
I
because
think the same thing.
We should not fall asleep, and that keeps us awake. But that is not the goal of our chanting. The chanting goal is that now, okay, take the help in the beginning, and then once you are advancing in your chanting, then you will realize that it's a private affair.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, sorry for interrupting. But
Yes.
Prabhuji, Maharaj Radhanath Maharaj says that we should do congregation chanting, and it helps us like this. And that's why those conference calls is started. Like nowadays, everybody is starting conference call and group chanting doing, because that helps to increase our rounds. And so this is mixed.
It's true. Of course, the association of devotees is always helpful. But I think there are other statements by Prabhupada or Acharyas, even Guru Maharaj also, where it's very clear that one has to develop one's individual strength. I mean, there is no alternative for that. I mean, the simple question is, how do you know whether you are going ahead or not in your chanting? Are you hearing only the names of Krishna, like the Hare Krishna Mahamantra? Are you only hearing? What are you thinking at the time of chanting? That's the question. So
Yeah,
of course,
we can
I
hear our
understand that
chanting too.
it will help. See, the problem is that in Kali Yuga, and especially for devotees who are living outside, there are a lot of distractions. There's a lot of anxiety. So that's why congregational chanting is very important, because ultimately it has to uh, one must be trained in such a way that one will be focused at the end of the day. Uh, so even in the Bhakti Samrit Sindhu, there is the uh, Lalsa Mai greed, and then there is the association of devotees. And then the question is that which is more important? Is association of devotees more important, or the greed is more important? Do you know which is more important amongst the two? Actually, it is the greed which is more important. Do you know why we associate with devotees? Do you know why do we follow the instructions of the spiritual master? The goal is to come to a spontaneous platform, which means that you don't want to be dependent on your guru to for everything. You want to make independent choices and decisions. Of course, you always think that the guru is guiding you. He's the one because of whose mercy you are made up of. Because of his mercy, we are advancing in spiritual life. We all know that, but ultimately, our guru would want us to become independent. When devotee comes to the state of bhav, the guru's role is over, finished. He is connecting us to Krishna. He's connecting us to Paramatma. And when the Paramatma starts speaking to you, he is the Chaitya Guru. So the role of the external form of Guru is finished. He connects you to the Chaitya Guru. Basically, see what happens when the Guru is also not present. The Guru is expecting us to take decision on ourselves, because how do we mature? How do we advance? Any father or a parent, they would want the child to become matured in their Krishna consciousness. They don't want the child to become dependent forever. I mean, this is a very it's an observable fact, right? We know that. So similarly, the role of a guru is like a parent, and they want to train us in the beginning, but then finally they want us to become independent in our Krishna consciousness. They will be more proud if we become independent, in the sense that we start realizing, we start becoming matured in our understanding and our realization of Krishna consciousness. And then our conviction becomes very strong. Then we can share with others. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants everyone to become a guru. Srila Prabhupada wanted everyone to become a guru and spread Krishna consciousness. Is that not a responsible position? Is that not a mature position? Now, when he talks about becoming a guru, the guru cannot stop at just hearing the holy name. The guru has to go forward. Nam Rupa Guna Leela. It has to go forward. I mean, when we talk about the advanced stage of bhakti, when we're talking about bhajana kriya, anartha nivritti, nishtha, ruchi, of course, the guru is expected to be at the stage of nishtha. And at the state of nishtha, the form of the Lord is always manifested while chanting the holy name. And at the stage of ruchi, the gun will manifest. And then at the stage of asakti, the lila is going to manifest. And that's how the guru will enter in the state of bhav. So it's a personal, individual connection with the Lord. Right? Do you understand this? How do you, when you are chanting, so one thing we understand, that you take help of devotees as much as possible, but there is a goal of association of devotees. There is a goal of chanting in the group of devotees. The goal is that you come to a point where when the devotees are even not present, then that time also you can chant attentively and you feel connected with the Lord. Is that not the goal of any devotee? Please don't deviate from the goal. Please realize that there is goal for everything, So that's why the greed is more important than the association of devotees, because when you have the greed, whether the association is there or not, you will always be fired up to spread Krishna consciousness, to share Krishna consciousness with others. But if you only rely on association of devotees, you will always, whenever you go, you will always rely, you will only be dependent, you will not do anything on your own. Is that a good state? No, absolutely not. That's why one time, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, he was with his disciples, and he asked a question to the disciples that, what do you think? The disciple asked question to Maharaj that what is the greatest benediction that a disciple can get from a guru? I think it was Maharaj who asked this question to the disciple, and then disciple started answering in different ways. One said that it is book distribution, it is going back to Godhead, it is this, that, this service, that service. Then finally, Maharaj said, the greatest service, the greatest benediction that a disciple can take from the Guru is to take the fire of Krishna consciousness from the Guru and keep it burning in their hearts forever. Because if you don't have the fire, you cannot actually do anything. You will become dependent. The dependence is not the goal of Guru. The goal of Guru is to make you independent. So that's why we have the stages. That's why there is the continuity. Now, let's say you are advanced in your chanting and you are in the group of devotees. Will it really matter? Because see, you have your own connection with the Lord. You have your even the form of the Lord that you think about. It's personal form. Every devotee has a favorite form of the Lord, and it will be totally different. The Lord is going to manifest depending on the devotee's desire and his bhav. So every devotee, even the form of Krishna is going to manifest differently. Some may be liking a particular deity form of the Lord. Some may be liking some other form of the Lord. So the Lord is going to manifest differently. When you start thinking of, when the remembrance of the form qualities of the pastimes of the Lord will start manifesting to you, does the chanting of other devotees make any impact to you? Will it help you in any way? Because that's a private, confidential thing, you know. So one thing that we have to understand, that the association of devotees is there to help us, so that we become we so if you say that, you know, the goal is to make us attentive in chanting, that means that we have not even reached the state of attentive chanting. So, you know, you are not even chanting attentively, and you are sleeping. You're not even able to remember the Lord while chanting. So if that is the stage, then yeah, you always require the association of devotees to keep you awake. But is keeping awake the goal of our group chanting? No, absolutely not. The goal is Nama Rupa Guna Lila. That's why I said that the way you understand your chanting is advanced when you are constantly absorbed in the Leelas of the Lord by chanting the name of the Lord. So I hope it is making some sense. I hope I'm able to convey the context.
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. So, you mean to say in the beginning, we should take association to improve our chanting, and then we should focus on our chanting
Yeah, yeah.
privately. And then, but
So
in this case also, Prabhuji, when we advance in the chanting, but new devotees are joining, so for giving them our association and inspiration, we have to join the call.
why do you have to give your association during japa time? I mean, you have the entire day when you can actually give them
Because
association.
that will inspire them to join the call and do the.
Yeah, but that should not affect your individual chanting.
Yes, yes. So sometime we can do on the japa conference call, and then we can do our personal chanting also. That you mean
So
to say, right?
I would suggest that your 16 rounds of chanting is your personal connection with the Lord.
Mm.
That should not be disturbed. Whatever extra you want to do, you do after that.
Okay. Yes, Prabhu. So for the newcomers or the new friends, we can join for them after our 16
Yeah,
rounds,
definitely. You can.
because that's how
I
they
mean,
will develop,
of
and
course.
they will
Now,
develop the
we
taste
also
and then.
want help.
Mm.
Then we have to join. Okay,
Yes.
that's another thing.
Yeah,
If we
because
also
we
want to
this.
be awake while chanting, then
Hmm.
we have to join in the group.
Yeah.
But now, when you have taken the benefit of association of devotees, come to the point where you are attentive. And attentive does not mean that you externally chant the holy name. It can, see, sometimes the physical body itself will actually make you fall asleep. But you know, there are instances where you will be chanting in the mind, believe me or not, for sure. when you chant attentively for major period of your life, the Lord definitely helps you. It is so that's why there is a shloka in the one of the Puranas where the Lord is saying that for a devotee who has sacrificed his life for me, if there is some disease that he gets at the end of his life, and because of that he is unable to remember me, he does not have to worry. I will come in his mind and I will make him remember me.
Varaha Puran.
Yeah. So the Lord is Bhavagrahi and Sargrahi. So at least let us be attentive for 75% of the chanting, if not 100%. Of course, we cannot claim we will be attentive for the 100% chanting. And then it also depends on how much sleep we have taken last night. Because if you are doing some very important services as per the instructions of the temple authorities or guru, and that is the need of the hour, then maybe there, it's natural that we'll fall asleep the next day when we are chanting. But whenever we are chanting, how much we are attentive in that chanting, that is the most important thing. The body naturally will drive you to sleep because it requires rest. We cannot do anything to control the body's needs. It will demand that. But the important thing is whether how much ever you are chanting, whether you are attentive or not. So Krishna focuses on that. So I hope it's clear.
Yes, Prabhuji, yes. Uh, so we can chant with the other devotees to inspire them to develop their taste of chanting, and then
It's a simple thing, Mataji. It's a simple thing. If you don't have taste, you cannot give it to others. Very simple thing.
Yes,
So,
Prabhuji.
so that's why I said that. See, that's why both things are important: the Nikunj Leela and the Ras Leela.
Mm-hmm.
Congregational chanting as well as personal chanting. Why? Because if you are Kanishta and you participate in the forum of Kanishta Adhikaris, what will be the effect of the congregational chanting? It will hardly attract the Lord. But when you come to Madhyama stage and when you inspire others to come to Madhyama stage, the effect will be greater. And then what to speak of Uttama Adhikaris? All of you are Uttama Adhikaris, right?
Yes.
So when you are Uttama Adhikari, Mahaprabhu says when he was asked that, can you, what does it mean to chant, Hare Krishna Mahamantra? He gave three definitions. He said that when one chants once, then, the definition of devotees. So Mahaprabhu gave three definitions of devotees. He said, whoever chants once the holy name is a devotee and is supposed to be respected. Next time when he was asked next year, what is the meaning of devotee? He said, whoever constantly chants the holy name is a devotee. And then the third year, when he was asked the same question, he said that just by his presence, he is making others chant the holy name. That is a devotee. So devotees were earlier, they were confused that why Mahaprabhu is giving three different definitions. Then they understood that actually Mahaprabhu is given three different definitions for three different category of devotees: Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama. So Uttama, just by his presence, he will make others chant the holy name, by his purity.
Yes.
And Madhyama, constant chanting, he will chant the name constantly. And Kanishta, just he will chant one time.
Yes.
So, this is another, I think, a misconception that devotees have. Although, of course, it's a preaching movement, but you cannot really preach unless you have that. So one time, one disciple wrote to Prabhupada about preaching Krishna consciousness and compromising with his strength. And Prabhupada said that Prabhupada said that one cannot give others what he does not have himself. And then he said, the most important thing, rather than thinking of saving others, the most important thing is to save oneself. So what does that mean? He says that if devotees think they cannot save themselves, then the first and foremost thing is to save themselves first. Later on, think of the saving of others. But if they have that strength, if they have the capacity, if they are not affected by taking risks, then they can save others. Okay. So
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, thank you so much,
Now,
Prabhu.
if we are unable to go beyond only hearing the name, then our chanting itself is not that level of chanting, right? So then how can we give our association to others? They will be at the same stage. That's why it is said that a Madhyam Adhikari can bring others only to Madhyam platform. And only Uttama Adhikari can actually bring. That's why Prabhupada also says in Nectar of Instruction Purport that a disciple should have a Uttama Adhikari as his guru. Because the Uttama Adhikari, by his instructions, he can bring a devotee to the Uttama platform. But a Madhyama cannot do that. He can only bring it to the level of Madhyam Adhikari. But beyond, he cannot take beyond that. So if we are at the state of Nishtha, we can bring up to Nishtha. If we are at the state of Bhajan Kriya, we bring them to Bhajan Kriya. We cannot take them beyond that. So like that.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for this explanation and the wonderful class. But now it's too late here, Prabhuji.
Yeah, fine.
Because of the daytime, daylight saving is 9:35 now. So I'm sorry to cut your class and then
No, absolutely not. In fact, I think we have gone beyond time, and
because most of the devotees they started leaving because of their work. This is
yeah,
9:35.
we'll continue. Anyways, I have to cover more points. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
All right. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
कृपा च पतितानां
Nam
पावनेभ्यो
Pavanebhyo
वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो
Vaishnavebhyo
नमः
Namo
अनंत
Namaha.
कोटि वैष्णव की जय नमाचार्य शरदास ठाकुर की जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय ग्रंथराज
Vaishnavदेव
श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय इस ग्रेस प्रेम रस प्रभु की जय
Vaishnavदेव की
so much
जय.
Prabhuji. Hare
Thank you so
Krishna
much.
धन्यवाद प्रणाम